interesting. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I hope you're all having a great Saturday. This afternoon will tend to be another yet powerful webinar from one of our members. So this is British African Business Network, BABN. So where we're enlightening one another on how, to be an entrepreneur in the UK. And it is my absolute pleasure to have one of our most active members, shall I say, Dr. Toyin. Dr. Toyin is a psychiatrist. She's a member of the British Society of Life Medicine with a special interest in empowering people to discover their potential and maintain their well-being. So she's passionate about issues around mental health, lifestyles, behavior management, and mental well-being. So she also has interest in self-care. She believes in work-life balance and including entrepreneurs as well. So she's a public speaker at various health and wellness events. And it's an absolute honor to hear from Dr. Toyin today. So, Dr. Toyin, we've been waiting for this moment. So please take it away.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. And thank you for taking time out to come and listen to this amazing thing that is going worldwide, because everywhere now you hear about well-being. Even the people who have a lot of money are still talking about well-being. So it's not for the underprivileged. It's for every single one of us as human beings. So I think it is important, especially for us who are entrepreneurs, about to start a business, started a business, to actually be aware of the importance of our well-being in our journey to being successful. Because I always say there's no point being successful and not having a good well-being or good health. So we want everything to be good. So there are things that we need to do along the way in order for us to achieve this amazing well-being and being a good mental state. So I'm going to share my screen. I hope I can. Let's see. And okay, sound. Okay, let's share. I hope it comes up. I hope you can see that.
Yes, we can see it.
Fantastic. So for everyone on the platform and those who will be watching this video later on, once it's recorded, the question is, you need to ask yourself, are you an entrepreneur? So a lot of people think, what's an entrepreneur? If you run a business, you're actually doing something in order to help other people. That's basically what it means. But then, like we know, there are various types of businesses. So it really depends on your take on what your business is doing and what you're actually offering in your business. So who is an entrepreneur? Because some people might say, oh, I'm just a business owner, I'm not an entrepreneur. But the question you need to ask, what is your why? Why are you actually running the business that you're running? Because that's very, very important. And that will actually take you on the trajectory of your success in whatever you're doing. What preparation have you in place before you started your business? And for those who are already in business, maybe you can take this time to reflect on what preparation that you did prior to you starting your business, because that is also very, very important. So I always say values are very important and values actually matter. I'm a Christian by background and I make no apologies. But if you really look at the biblical aspect of running a business, and you actually look at the information I have on there, I've actually looked at different religion. So people don't think that it's only certain group of religion that actually run businesses. But the overall thing is that you find out that we actually have lots of things in common. So as a Christian business owner, acting as a servant to others. And I'm sure a lot of us in the Black community sometimes think about us in the business and not actually consider being a servant to others. So that is very, very key when you're actually looking to growing your business and look at how to balance your life and what you want to get. Making decisions that consider the wants and the needs of others. So business exists to make profit, and that is very true. But it's the way you actually earn the money is also very important, and that's where your values comes in. So it might be religion, it might be your faith, whatever it is that actually grounds you in your value is something that will actually help you to achieve things. So you have the Quran that says, give full measure and weight justly, and defraud not men of their things. Act not corruptly in the land, making mischief. So it's all the same thing. Even the Hindu says, enjoy the wealth with detachment. So do not covet other people's wealth. Balance material success with detachment and to focus on ethical conduct and inner fulfillment. These are important things in our well-being, because once any of this aspect is dysfunctional, our well-being will actually be affected. Okay, so things to consider as an entrepreneur. Remember, we're talking about well-being, and now you're going to see how that is actually going to fit into this situation. So for those who are in business, do you research into your chosen business? Do you look at what there is, what there isn't, what is important, what you need to know? Because this will give you and inform you of how best to move your own business forward and be successful in it. Do you ask for support as an entrepreneur? Or are you one of those that says, it's my business and I do it my way? And then you run into problems later on. So do you have a mentor? Do you have a coach? Do you have both? Or do you have people already in the industries that you're close to and you can actually ask for advice on how to get your business going? Finance, that is number one in any business, is that how do you fund your business? What plans do you have in place before you start your business, during your business, and in the future? Because a lot of people talk about making money, but are they making money for now or for the future? Because whatever you do now will affect your well-being in the future. And if you don't have your finances in place for then that could actually cause a lot of trouble, a problem for you. Time is another factor. And the reason why I've chosen these two, finance or money and time, is because that seems to be a challenge, especially in the Black ethnic minority, because we're everything to everybody. So even though we're running our businesses, we're something else to other people. And sometimes that takes us away from our vision and our goal to actually be successfully in our business. So what are the impacts of well-being and mental health? Remember, like I said earlier, you cannot succeed on your own. You need people. But you need the right people. You need the people who will take you where you want to go. And you need people who have succeeded in what you want to do, because they are the only ones that can lift you up. Never hang around with people who have no clue about your business and start to give you advice, because that could also be a challenge which will impact on your well-being and your mental health. You must be mentally prepared to be successful. There is no business that doesn't have its own obstacles, but I always say obstacles is an opportunity for you to grow, because you learn from whatever happens from that. But you need to be mentally strong in order for you to do that. You must be physically fit. Very, very important. Your physical health is important, because if you cannot maintain your physical health, you will not have the stamina to do what you need to do to actually be successful in your business. You must create rest time. I'm sure people are saying rest. How? Whether we like it or not, our body needs rest. Our body needs to recalibrate itself. Our body has to be able to lose the nutrients that are useless to us. So we need to create that time to actually rest. So I'm going to ask you on a scale of 1 to 10, and I know number 5. And these are questions that you should actually ask yourself, whether you're just starting a business, you're in business for many years. Do you actually know yourself? Because I think people don't realize that when you start to run a business, or you're an entrepreneur, you're starting off, you start to find that there's some things that you didn't know about yourself that actually pops up. So where are you now about knowing yourself? Where were you when you started your business? Where are you now? Because I'm sure there is a difference when you started and to now. Do you know when to let go? Because those are some of the things that will affect our well-being. Are you able to let go? Do you have relaxation time? How good is your sleep? How good is your diet? How much exercise do you do? How good is your health, your hygiene, and your self-care? Because people think self-care is only for women. I hear people say, oh, I don't have time to do that. But healthcare actually includes your skincare routine, how you look after yourself, because when people see you, they see your face first because the rest is covered. So it's important about your presentation and the image you create when people see you for the first time. How often is your health check? For those of us in the UK, we've got the NHS. I know there's different countries, people might be working from around the world. They have insurance, healthcare insurance, but whatever it is, do you have a health check? Do you consciously and are you intentional about checking your health? Usually about different age groups, because there are different things that you do at different stages of our lives. So it's important to know, what are the health checks? What do I need to be doing that I haven't done? Because these are also very important for us to maintain a good well-being and mental state during our process of growing our businesses. So what is mental health? And I said specifically in the Black community. And the reason why I've done that, there is a lot of assumption. So when people hear mental health, they think it's mental illness. It is not. Mental health is emotional and psychological and social well-being of an individual. And I always say the culture in the Black community in the UK is quite different, because I know quite a number of people in America, they will actually have a therapist and it's not a big deal because they acknowledge and they understand you need to go somewhere to offload. And sometimes you just need that listening ear. So it doesn't mean that you're mentally unwell for you to have a therapist. So the number thing that happens, a lot of us for people in business, is stress.
Yeah.
It is stress. And stress comes from different angles. So we're going to go through what is stress, how do you identify stress, and what can you do to avoid or reduce stress? Because I think that is key to actually maintaining a good well-being and a good mental health. So stress is feeling of emotional strain and pressure. I always say something that there's some cultures in Africa that don't have words to describe certain emotions that we have in the English language, because it's something that they haven't actually had a word for to express. I remember when you come and said, and you hear people say, oh, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, you'd be thinking, what's that? But we probably were experiencing it, but we didn't know what the name was. So stress can also mean psychological pain. It's a pain that other people cannot see. And it's also quite challenging because people cannot see you going through this psychological pain. People will assume that everything is fine with you. Unlike if you have a broken leg and they see a POP on your leg, they'll know, oh, so sorry for you, you've broken your leg. But because stress is usually psychological, is internal, it's very difficult for people to identify it. But as individuals, it's something we need to be aware of and be able to tap into it and know how to dip out when it actually occurs. There is good small stress. You know, sometimes you need that little bit of stress, when you're going for exams, you've got an exam paper tomorrow, the morning of the exam, what happens? You start to almost like, oh my God, I'm so stressed. And I'm sure some of you can actually testify that you probably go to the toilet like 3 or 4 times. That's a good stress, but because it's short term and it's not for long. And once you get into your exam room or interview or whatever you're going to, that thing dissipates and then you carry on. Any questions so far? Anybody wants to?
I was actually going to type that. Thank you so far. For people to please put your questions in the chat box, and hopefully we can read that out to Dr. Tony. But also, if you like to raise your hands, if you want to contribute, just put up your hand and I'll be able to come as well. I'm really blown away by the definition of stress. Things you're saying about in the US, people go to the therapist. It's no big deal. So hopefully you can explain or help us, guide us, please, into what can we do to make sure that in the UK we can start having access to things like that. because I think one of the things is that if we don't know what to do, then that might be one of the barriers. And I think that's one of the things why we're here today to learn. So hopefully you can guide us into what can we do for those of us in the UK to begin to have this conversation. We're enjoying your session, so please. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So remember in slide 3, we talk about the factors are not considered before or during. Remember, we talked about, did you do a research about your business? Are there people who can support you, mentor you? So this is something that actually helps you towards moving towards how do I manage? So what are the common causes of stress and anxiety, especially if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner? And I think one of the key things, especially in the Black community, is the lack of organizational structure. Some of us are, because businesses vary, so some of us are self-employed, where we're the sole person running the business. But some people have other businesses where they actually have other people working for them. So depending on your business, you should still have a structure, even if you're running your business on your own.
So if I get what you're saying correctly, so when you say structure, you want to break that down for us? Do you mean that routine that we should have, from this time to this time? This is what I need to do.
So you need to have a goal, you need to have a diary, you need to have time. Remember, we talked about rest time, we talked about what you do. So when you have an organizational structure, you can say, okay, this week I'm going to do my meetings. I'm going to contact 3 or 4 people on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between this time and this time. And then even within your structure, you're thinking, what are the kind of questions I need to ask the people when I go for an interview or to seek for business? Because you're not just going to go there and sit in front of them and start thinking, okay, what question should I ask them now? So those are the kind of structures that you want to put in place. You might create a Google form for certain things. You might create a kind of questionnaire thing that even if you're not there and you have somebody else working for you, they can actually follow through with the process. But when you think you're the only one that knows in a business where you're not the only one, it becomes quite challenging because you now think you need to do every single thing. And that's where the work overload is, not being able to let go, not being able to train other people within your organization to take some of these things on board.
Fantastic.
Does that make sense?
Fantastic. Absolutely. Thank you so much for clarifying that. So I'll allow everyone else to ask their questions or to unmute yourself, please. Let's ask questions. Dr. Tony is around and willing to help us navigate this mental thing.
Some of you should carry your phone right now and start deleting some names. Just delete. Just press the delete button.
Hello, Evie. We can hear you. Hello.
I'm going.
Okay, you can just mute them.
I think that was not intentional.
No problem at all. So,
okay, I'll allow you to carry on. So hopefully when people have more questions, they'll ask you.
Yeah. So other common causes are perfectionism. Some people love to be perfect. That is their nature. But they don't see that in other people. So they think their way is the only way and things have to be done in their way. So that could actually cause to build up of stress, because much as you want somebody else to do the job you want them to do, you're kind of wanting them to work the way that you work. And sometimes it doesn't happen. So being able to know your weaknesses, your vulnerability at that time, and allow others to also have their own vulnerability. Physical health. When we talk about physical health, there's some of us who start a business because of a physical health. So maybe you're somebody who used to go to work, and because of your physical condition and your diagnosis, you're not able to do that same job anymore. And you choose to be at home and start to run a business from home because that probably works better for you. So it's also important to think, how do you adjust from somebody who probably used to work in good health, and now your health is not as great, but it actually doesn't stop you from starting something while working from home. So that could be an element of stress and anxiety as well. External factors. When I talk about external factors, I'm talking about friends and family. If your family members or people that you know do not see the vision or understand the concept of your business, that can be quite challenging. That can be very stressful, and that can provoke a lot of anxiety. Because the more you try to explain to them, the more they actually get confused and probably sometimes almost want you confused as well. So external factors can actually veer into your growth of running your own business, but then you cannot do with those external factors. So how do you navigate around how you get them to understand what you're trying to achieve in order that you can get that additional support? Or there's some people that you might have to leave out of the equation and just create boundaries where you actually contact them. Because there are people, I'm sure most of us in businesses where you start something and somebody's saying that, oh, it can't work, it can't work. But if you keep on hanging around the person that says it can't work, then the probability is that it probably will not work. Also, common causes again is previous or unidentified mental health issues. And usually the common one that people may have, anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder, and those are usually the perfectionists. I need this thing to be arranged this way. You go into an office and you see the boss has arranged his papers in different sizes. But yes, somebody who just quite happy to put the paper and scatter it everywhere, but you know where the scattered papers are. But the person that you're probably working for is probably getting irritated, anxious, because things are not the way they are. So sometimes you identify this when you start to work with other people. So if you're somebody who's always run a business on your own, and you're now looking to employing people to work with you, you need to also be mindful that, oh, I never realized I was such a perfectionist until somebody else pointed it out to me. So those are the kind of things that can come up as you start in your journey as an entrepreneur. So what are the signs of stress and anxiety? I'm not sure if anybody, I've got the thing up, but what are the signs of stress and anxiety? I'll stop sharing and I'll go back to it. What are the signs? Or what do you recognize to be a sign of stress or anxiety? Remembering that I've said there's some words that we cannot interpret in probably our local languages, especially those with African origin. Anybody? What will you call stress?
Dr. Tay, maybe you want to give us one. Hopefully that will trigger.
Okay, somebody has said, EB has said feeling lethargic. Yes, feeling lethargic.
Fantastic.
Yeah, feeling lethargic. The common one that most people tend to do, they get very irritable. You know, somebody who used to be quiet and everything, just say, oh, hello, how are you? What's your problem? What? And you think, oh, I haven't done anything. But because they're irritable, they're touchy-feeling, you know, and there are other things. So let's carry on. And I'll go back to sharing. So when you start to think about what other things, because sometimes you might identify these things in yourself, but you won't understand.
Sorry, another person has said low what's that, productive, being low in productive as in not being able to
you find that things are not going as you think you should go. But there are other things that you probably would not identify as stress that you can say, oh, lack of concentration, irritability, poor sleep. Sometimes you like, oh, you know, I work so hard, I'm so busy, so I don't get to sleep on time, but they don't recognize that it's poor sleep due to stress and anxiety. So they kind of put it in a different compartment. Your heart pounding. You hear people talk about palpitation, panic attacks. You know, this is another thing that people might start to notice, but they might not initially attribute it to stress or anxiety. They might just think it's more, maybe something physically wrong with them. Yes, it's a physical aspect of what you're going through, but then it could be because of what you're going through. Loss of appetite or excessive eating. I love this because some people say, oh, I'm not depressed because I'm eating. No, there's something called comfort eating. So you can be depressed and actually have loss of appetite, or you can be depressed or low in mood and eat excessively. So there are two ends of the strata. Loss of libido. I know a lot of us in the community don't like to talk about libido or anything sexual, but this is another aspect that could impact on you when you're going through stress or anxiety as you run your business. And then also the risk of associated or development of physical condition. So you might have started your business and things were going well, and then all of a sudden you get some physical challenges, you get new diagnoses, and you're kind of wondering, how am I going to pivot in my business, which I want to grow? And that could cause you stress and anxiety. And all this can be walked through. And the important thing is that it's for you to identify where it is and where you can actually go to sort things out for you.
Sorry, Dr. Toyi.
Yeah.
It's all good, all this, what you are mentioning here, the signs and the symptoms. But what's the next step? What, if somebody should, I'm sure you'll be coming up next, hopefully. So, how do we start the conversation? What should we then do? I haven't realized that, okay, being snappy, for example, is one of those things that's, a trigger that there might be some underlying things still happening that we need to process. So what's your guidance? What's your advice in terms of how do people, then move to the next,
The next
steps?
level.
Yeah.
Well, I have some nice tips, and that's what we're going to be doing. Because
Fantastic.
sometimes you can feel these symptoms, these signs, and you're thinking, what do I do? And there's simple techniques and things that you can actually do. So, for example, the breathing technique. I'm not sure if anybody has actually tried a breathing technique or heard about breathing techniques that can actually help to reduce anxiety and stress. It's short acting. It does the business.
Is that Reverend Lucy? Are you about to ask question? Reverend Lucy.
Oh, good.
No questions?
Okay.
Okay, hopefully this will work, and we're going to do a short breathing thing. So these are one of the tips or something you can use when you feel stressed or you feel anxious. These are the quick things you can do to actually help you through. So hopefully this will work. Let's see. Okay, and it's a 1-minute breathing exercise. Let me see if I can expand. So you breathe in, just follow I'm going to pause it a bit. Let's pause. Oh, it's not stopping. Okay.
It hasn't. Are you sharing it?
Oh, okay. Let me
We have the
share.
link, but we can't see the
Okay,
exercise
I'm
itself.
going, yeah, I probably have to come out and come back in again. Okay,
We can see the PowerPoint. We can see the breathing. Are you ready? Then the URL.
And then the thing just disappeared.
The URL is there, but the exercise itself is not here yet.
Oh, no. You see, with this breathing exercise, it tells you when to breathe in and out. Is that what you can see? Can
No.
you see something with it? Okay, let me stop this. Let me stop sharing, and then I'm going to go back to it. So the breathing exercise, you're going to see a circle. And in that circle, it's going to tell you to breathe in and breathe out. Okay. So just follow the instructions on it. So let's see if I can get it to work. There we go. Share. Oops. Can you see that?
It's coming. Yes. 1-minute breathing exercise.
1-minute breathing exercise. Yeah.
Yes, we can see now. Yes.
Okay. So just follow the instructions.
Wow.
How did you find that?
Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. And it's that simple. And because people always think, oh, I'm feeling anxious. I need to go and see my doctor. I need to go and get medication. Not everybody likes medication. Yeah, but there are things that we can do. And one of the techniques to help with that anxiety is actually the breathing exercise or the breathing technique. And there are various kinds of breathing techniques. But what is important that when you're actually going through that exercise, you need to be comfortable. You need to be sitting down nice and relaxed. You know, you're not supposed to be working and try to do your breathing exercise. Yeah. So it's just to create that 1 minute to just take that deep breath in and out and just need to be relaxed. And when you breathe out, you breathe in through your nose and you breathe out through your mouth. Yeah. So I hope that was useful. That's something that you've learned something.
Fantastic. I actually heard this on the Diary of a CEO, that oxygen circulation or something like that. That's what you're trying to get in as much oxygen. Yes. So
exactly. Exactly.
Coming back now.
Okay, so now we've learned a tip that we can help when we are feeling stressed or anxious, and you can do it as many times in the day. So it's not that you do it in the morning and that's it. So you can do it as often that you think you need it in the day. Okay. Oops, let's see. Oh, I don't want that. Sorry about that. I don't know why it's gotten stuck. Okay, let me stop sharing and then go back again. So we talked about the stress, the anxiety. So we're now going to go on to other things that are important for our well-being, because it's not just about working along anxiety, it's also about where to seek help and support, which was the question that you asked earlier on. So when there's enough stress to keep you going and it's okay and you don't need support. But when it starts to have impact on your quality of life, you've noticed that it's affecting your productivity in your business, it's probably affecting your relationship with people. Usually the first port of call is close and trusted family or friend. And I said trusted. So it's not everybody you carry your matter to. Yeah. In the UK, you can go and see your GP, and the GP can refer you to a local therapist or a group locally. You can decide to self-fund and get yourself a qualified counselor or therapist. I always say you can go to your faith leader, but so long as a faith leader has a background in counseling, psychology, or therapy. Because I always say you can only give what you know. So they might be talking to you in good faith, but it might not necessarily be what will work for you. So you need to be very mindful who you share those things with. Peer groups. You might be talking to another business friend of yours who's probably running the same business, who might have gone through the experience that you've gone through, and you can share that you're not alone. I think most of the time people always think when they're going through stress or anxiety within their business, they think it's just about them. But when they go into peer groups and start to talk to people, they realize that it's a natural thing that happens to people, but it's how you manage it that's important. And like I said at the bottom, never suffer in silence, because it doesn't help you, it doesn't help your business, and it's detrimental overall for you. So when we talk about mental health hygiene, like I asked Alma, who am I? And I think sometimes as entrepreneurs or business owners, we lose ourselves as we run our business. So it's important that you constantly have to go back almost on a daily basis. Okay, who am I? Why am I doing this? What's the outcome? Yes, I want to make money, but am I impacting other people positively? Good night's sleep is so, so important. Eating healthy is important. Positive attitude, I cannot say a lot on, I cannot stop talking about positive attitude, because a lot of the time it is a negativity that actually makes things worse. It actually makes things worse. And I always say it's a process. It's not something that comes naturally to some people. It's a process where you gradually start to lose that use of negative attitude or negative mindset, and you gradually start to move into being a positive individual. It's a process, but you always have support with people who are where you want to go. Socializing with positive people, very important, that I mentioned earlier. And exercise. Exercise is good, and it's ability for you to not only help your physical health, it also a place for fun and laughter. It also creates an ambience, an aura where, in spite of what you're going through, there's certain things that you can do to actually help to reduce or release your stress. So this is very important. We're going to focus on 3 main aspects of well-being. Reason being, these are usually the common things that we need and we need to address as entrepreneurs.
Sorry to stop you, Dr. Tony.
Yeah.
What about if we have someone on this call here? It's all good. You talk about being positive, and you know that you can, like you rightly said, that you can only give what you have. So what would you recommend if someone is now positive? I totally agree that being positive, but there are days you wake up and you can't just but think about all the things that are not going well. So do you have any practical guide or advice on what people can do even when they're not feeling motivated to be positive? Because let's be real, it's not every day we wake up and you're like, yes, I'm going to be positive, even though it's gloomy and dark gray, atmosphere, but I'm still gonna be, so what are the things that people can do?
So what I usually suggest or advise people is that you need to have an attitude of gratitude. Waking up in the morning is a good reason to be happy, is a good reason to be positive. So attitude of gratitude. Do you have self-affirmation? Do you have an affirmation you say to yourself every morning when you wake up? Because that's what sets the tempo for the day. So those are the 2 little things that you can start with. Being grateful when you wake up in the morning, being grateful for probably having breakfast. I always say, I'm very grateful that I'm able to go to the toilet this morning because I know there's somebody somewhere who's probably suffering to go to the toilet. So little things are very important for you to acknowledge, to be grateful for. And that sets the tone for the day. Because once you have a few things that you're grateful for, you see your mood starts to change. And no matter what you're going through, it kind of gets you going for the rest of the day.
Fantastic. Would you say also disengaging from toxic environment? Would that help as well?
Yeah,
because
that helps
we can physically move ourselves away from situations that are not good.
Physically, mentally, emotionally.
we're not a tree that we can't move. So we have the power and the control to move away from things that doesn't align what we believe. We can just excuse ourselves that, what, give me a minute and to try and compose ourselves and yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you.
No problem. So we go back. Oops, I need to go back to sharing. Okay. So it hasn't shared yet. Let me just go back to sharing. We'll go back to my Zoom. Go back to sharing. Okay, so we said we're going to focus on sleep, nutrition, and exercise. And those are usually the challenges as an entrepreneur that we have because we're so creative. We're thinking about so many things, sometimes we get so engrossed in what we're doing that we don't get enough sleep or we don't eat well. And obviously, if you're not sleeping and eating well, that exercise is definitely out of the picture. That one is not even going to happen. So what are the causes of poor sleep? Because it's very important to know what causes poor sleep or what is sleep deprivation. Because in our quest to be successful, we kind of deprive ourselves of sleep. So like I said, stress, anxiety, and worries, excessive use of caffeine and alcohol. We're going to talk about alcohol later on. The environment where you're sleeping, your room temperature, the kind of bed you're sleeping on, or if you're sleeping on hard surfaces, whatever it is, wherever you're sleeping, the lighting in the place where you want to actually use to sleep is so key. Those are very, very important. So what do we mean by sleep deprivation? So that is when one does not get a good enough quality or duration of sleep. There's some of us, like me, I can sleep for 4 hours, but my sleep will be quality, it will be deep sleep, and when I wake up, I'm bright and ready to go. But there's some people who need more sleep. So the question you need to ask yourself, how much sleep is enough for me? Because you hear people saying, oh, you're supposed to have 8 hours sleep. 8 hours might be too much for some people, but you need to discover your own sleeping habits and what works best for you. It might vary depending on the kind of work that you do or the kind of business that you're running. It might vary if you're probably out of the country and the time zone and you're still continuing to run your businesses. So, but you need to know what is my base what is the sleep that I need in order to perform maximally? Yeah. And we also need to remember that sleep is as important as food and water. So no matter what we're doing, our sleep is very, very important. And a lot of us don't get enough sleep. But what is enough sleep for us? What is enough sleep for you? And you can actually keep a diary and monitor when you go to bed, because I have a sleep diary. Monitor when you go to bed, when you go to bed, and when you think you drift off to sleep, whether you woke up in the morning, in between, and then when you wake up in the morning. And that will give you a pattern of how your sleep is doing. And then you start to know, okay, if I don't get this amount of sleep, my production is going to be definitely not going to be too good. So that is an important thing that we need to do. What are some symptoms of poor sleep? Because also you need to identify the symptoms of poor sleep. So of course, during the day, if you're not sleeping well at night and you have to go to work, or you need to run your business, or you need to attend meetings, of course, you're going to feel drowsy, you're going to feel irritable, you can become angry than usual. Like we mentioned, your concentration is all over the place, you're less alert. And what's, especially if your business entails you driving. And that's very, very risky. Or if your business is about working with very, very fine skills. Can you imagine if you're a welder and you use the big machines to cut things and you haven't slept well the night before, and you go to work thinking, oh, don't worry, I can wing it. Accidents can actually happen. So those are the kind of things that you need to be very aware. Fatigue and what some call brain fog. You get very forgetful. Yeah, you're somebody who always remembers things, you're always on point, and then you just find out that, hang on, I was supposed to have done this. Why didn't I do that? So that's something to say, okay, I haven't really slept well. So that will be something that will kind of trigger you to say, okay, I need to sleep early tonight. I need to catch up on my sleep. And that's very, very important. And it's also important to know what are the consequences of poor sleep or sleep deprivation. It affects every single organ of our body, believe it or not. There's a reason why God said we should rest. Because when you rest, the body recalibrates, re-energizes, cell turnover, everything happens. So you run the risk of heart attack, hypertension, diabetes, because lack of sleep affects the ability to regulate your sugar in our blood. So you find people who say, oh, this man, when I saw him at the party, he was really doing well. There's nothing wrong with him. But he probably might have not have slept for like 3-4 days. He might not even realize that he's diabetic, and then he drops. And people say, but he was a very healthy man. So we need to be very mindful. Obesity, excessive consumption of sugar and carb, because the reality is that when we haven't slept or when we're awake quite late, I always say that if you're still awake after 12 o'clock, the chances that you're going to get hungry. And that's when you go and snack. Yeah, snack. And before you know it, you're putting on weight and you're wondering, oh, but I really didn't eat much. But you were snacking at the wrong time. And usually we snack on the wrong things. Mental disorder, like I said, deprivation can also cause depression and anxiety. And most importantly, our immunity will drop if you're not sleeping well. And that's...
Dr. Toye, sorry to interject. You've now come into something that is very, very important. I know on the first part of your presentation, you're talking about the prevention, but actually you've now come to things that we see. These are the symptoms. If we don't do those things that you are saying that we take for granted. And thank you so much for sharing the first bit that, I'm sure, we can say, yeah, I'll do it when I have the time. But what you're saying here is that it might be too late, because by the time we're seeing symptoms, it might be irreversible. The example you gave that somebody just, dropping dead, literally, meaning that there's been signal, like you said. So thank you so much. And I hope we are all learning. We're saying that actually prevention is better than cure.
Exactly.
So if we take, this webinar that we're doing today, exposing or giving insight into what we can do so that we don't even have a record of all these things, these diseases, heart disease, diabetes, obesity, mental health disorders, and things like that. So hopefully, thank you for what you're sharing. So I just said I would emphasize on that. Thank you.
Thank you. So So what determines your sleep? Like I said, your kind of business. Some people's business is actually probably global. So they're working in different time zones. Yeah. Then you need to look about your lifestyle. What do you have in place for your lifestyle? Because you need to have a work-life balance. So it's not just about running the business. Are you somebody who's running a business as a family business? The family are involved. Are you running the business alone, but you have family? Are you running your business and you have dependents? So you need to really look at your lifestyle around your business. You cannot separate them because one will always affect the other. Then you also need to look at your relationship with sleep. Because some people, when you tell them, oh, I sleep 12 hours, they say, she's very lazy or he's very lazy. How can he be sleeping for 12 hours? They don't know your relationship with sleep. They don't know how much sleep you need to actually achieve maximum production in whatever you're doing. So look into what is your relationship with sleep. Do you look at your sleep as, I only sleep when I am tired? Or do you look at your sleep as, this is the amount of sleep I need? Or do you look at sleep as, if I sleep, I might not wake up early? Because there's some people who ruminate about sleeping, that if I sleep, then if there's nobody to wake me up. And also, do you live alone? Because it's also very important. If you're living alone, you're running a business, what is your relationship with sleep with that? Are you somebody who is very there's some people who sleep and the drop of a pin, they wake up. So you need to know what is your relationship with sleep. And then also, is there any underlying medical condition that might affect your sleep?
Sorry, doctor. Sorry to interrupt. Somebody is just actually putting a perfect answer here. They said, sometimes, so let me just read what they've said. They said, some of us think sleep is an inconvenience. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Would you
I was
agree
just
with
going to
that?
say that.
Thank you, Charity, that we're doing ourselves a favor by just getting over with the sleep, not actually knowing that, like you said, water and food are as important as having a good sleep as well. Thank you, Charity, for that.
Yes. So that is very, very important. So let's talk about tips to wind down. Why your sleep is so important and what you can do to actually have ability to wind down. Because you need to say, everything that you do in life has to be intentional. If you're somebody who has a sleep problem, you need to be intentional about making it right for you. So some of the tips that you can do, make sure that your room is dark enough and quiet. I always say, preferably no TV in the room. But there's some people who can watch TV and fall asleep. But if you already know you have sleeping issues, then it's better for your room to be quiet. Anything TV noisy, leave it downstairs in the living room or in your living room and make your room a sleep zone, purely for sleeping. Some people can read and fall asleep. Some people can read the wrong book and keep awake till 4 o'clock. So you need to start to know yourself. Hot showers. They always say have a warm bath, if you can't sleep. Hot drinks, hot chocolate, hot milk. Avoid caffeine and alcohol. And I'm going to come back to alcohol, like I mentioned earlier. Caffeine keeps you awake. So if you drink your caffeine too late, the chances that you might not be able to sleep. But some people like me, I can drink caffeine at 11 o'clock in the evening and I can still fall asleep. So you need to know your body. You need to know your body.
I was going to say that. I was going to say in this coffee that what about people that have got to the stage where even caffeine does not work? That stage where you get to that you're taking the caffeine, but you're still sleeping because you've been deprived, So what would you say in that? And also there are studies that have actually said that caffeine is good. Sometimes we hear these things, they come in for 4 years, they said, oh yeah, caffeine is actually good if you have 4. Then sometimes it will come back again and say, no, caffeine is not good. So what's your take on all these different research?
For caffeine, I always say, no matter researches that go on, you will have those who are for, against, and people who sit on the fence. You are the one that should know your body. Nobody can know your body better than you.
Sure.
Some people will take caffeine and they'll sleep like a baby. Some people will take caffeine and their eyes will be shiny. But you cannot override the natural rhythm of sleep in your brain. You can try to do it, but when the brain decides it's going to sleep, it will sleep.
That's right.
So
your body will tell you what's best for
your
you.
body will tell you what it needs when it's ready, when you have exhausted whatever you're doing. You know, there's sometimes where you think you're going, and then one day you just find that you're just sleeping throughout the day. And you're thinking, why am I so tired? Then you now think, oh, okay, I didn't sleep early last night. I slept at 3 o'clock. I slept at this. Now my body has caught up with me. Your body will always catch up. So sometimes when your body catches up, it might give you a little bit of warning or it can shut down. So you
would
don't
you
want to
say,
get it shut down.
would you say in that case that we should not get to the stage where our body is actually telling us it's time to sleep? I think what you're trying to say here today is that we need to be mindful. So that it's not our body now telling us that it can no longer cope and it's now shutting that by itself, because I think that's already a problem, isn't it?
Exactly. Meditation is another way you can wind down. Like we did the breathing exercises. You can think about positive things that happen in the day. You can think about maybe being away on holiday somewhere where you really enjoyed yourself. So meditation, prayer, reflection. But when you're doing your reflection, it's not all the negative things that happen in the day, because you will not sleep. So you need to be intentional about the things that you meditate on. Okay, so tips for a good night's sleep as well. Have an electronic curfew, 90 minutes before light out. Dim the light. I'm not sure, some of you probably might not realize, but there's some phones that actually have a night mode. I'm not sure if people are aware. And it's important.
Someone is talking about, probably it's about working out a disciplined routine.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
You need to have a disciplined routine. So usually set up a routine, maybe 90 hours before you go to bed, or where you have decided is your bedtime. You start to wind down. Yeah. Blue light blockers glasses to improve production of melatonin, which is one of the chemicals, natural chemicals in the brain that actually helps you with sleeping. But
so
some
Dr.
people
Toy,
yes.
Sorry, Dr. Toy. So what about if someone, just thinking aloud now, what about if somebody is actually not able to get into this routine? And Charity, I think you're the one that put it down, so probably you will want to say more. Yeah, Charity, please unmute yourself and ask your question better, please.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I was just saying, I was going to respond about the phones and other devices that Dr. Toyin is just talking about, that have got sleep mode. I think the phones, most phones, like I use Apple devices, so I've got my phone and my watch. So I've sort of kind of set up and how many hours I want, what time I need to go to bed, and what time I need to be up. Being up, not being out of bed, but being awake. So once you set that up, it automatically feeds into all your devices. It syncs, so that if you are, maybe your phone is somewhere else, your watch, you've got it on your wrist, it will tell you it's time to get to wind down, because I set it up in such a way that I need to be notified at least 15 minutes before my bedtime, so that I can start preparing and winding down. Yeah, so that way, it also, that's another way of using digital devices. And then if you wake up late, obviously, you need to analyze at the end of the week if you had enough sleep at the end of the week or not. So that helps you to get into a routine.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So there are gadgets out there that we can use. And even if you don't have gadgets, you've got pen and paper to write the time and keep a diary. And then you usually at the end of the week will know which days did you have the best sleep. And then you can calculate how many hours you had. And then that helps you to start to prepare a routine for yourself. I mentioned earlier the attitude of gratitude, because that actually reduces negative thoughts and reduces bad dreams. Because when you're angry and fighting with someone and you go to bed, you'll be fighting on your bed and wrestling, and then you wake up exhausted and tired. So have a consistent wake up time. Keep your sleeping environment clean. Make sure you're washing your beddings with hot water at least twice a week. You know, just make your room comfortable. Like I said, the dark curtains, you know, so just make your room so cozy that you enter into, some people use fragrances. So all this little lavender oil or something, but look for something that works for you to actually help to improve your night's sleep. So any questions on that before we go on to the nutrition?
Thank you so much for that. I think you've done it justice. And thanks to Charity as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Like we mentioned, sleep, water, and food are important. And food is at the base of the hierarchy of needs, for those who know about the hierarchy of needs. And the food is for survival and energy. So yeah, as an entrepreneur, you need energy because we're very creative. You're constantly thinking, looking at ideas, looking at suggestions, looking at advice. So there's so much happening in your brain. And all that is happening in your brain is sapping energy. So if you're not eating well, you will not actually have the energy to be as creative as you have to be. And like they always say, you are what you eat. So the function of food, because some people might think I just eat because I'm supposed to eat. You know, like, oh, sleep is just a necessity. Do I really need to eat? I can eat once a day. Well, you need food because you need to stay alive. You know, growth in our cells, because our cells needs repair, maintenance of the body tissue so it can function for you in order for you to have the strength and the energy to run your business. Because if you don't have it, then there's no you and there's no business. So the question you need to ask yourself at this point in time in your journey in your business, do you feel you're eating too much or you're eating too little? A lot of us don't like to weigh ourselves because sometimes we don't want to know the truth. But it'd be quite interesting to know how many people know their weight or weigh themselves maybe once a week, every single day. I mean, your height at this stage, if you're at a certain age, your height shouldn't really change, except maybe you get to 65 when your vertebra collapses and you become shorter. You know, so look at what is my eating habit? What do I tend to eat? You know, what days and how much energy do I have with certain food? Because there's some days that you feel, oh, actually, I'm quite energetic and everything. And then if you actually look at, okay, what did I eat today? And then another day you're so lethargic, then you discover, oh, I only had breakfast this morning. I forgot to have my lunch and dinner. So that's a warning sign that, okay, that's the reason why I'm the way I am. You can also look at calories. I don't count calories, but people are calories counters. Yeah. So this is just a rough gauge of how much calories you actually need to fuel you to have a productive day. Yeah. And then they're looking at what are the kind of foods, because most of the time, because we're sometimes sedentary, with time, our business probably involves us just sitting down most of the time. So you find that when you eat and you're not burning, it piles on. So they always advertise, I advocate really a balanced diet. Not no carb, but low carb, depending on the activity of your business. If you're somebody who is like a fitness instructor, you will need your carbs. You know, if you're somebody who just sits on the computer and runs their business like a project manager or IT consultant, you don't need as much carb. So it's about you discovering how much food is best for you. But the 5 basic things about food, your carb, your protein, your fruits, your vegetables, are very important. But also what is important, especially in our community, is the portion. Our issue is usually portion control. We've got healthy food, but we're not able to manage and control the portion that we eat.
Sorry,
especially the soup is very sweet.
Dr. Toyi, we got questions for you. So
okay.
How do we control the portion size if you're used to having a massive portion all the time? What are the tips to,
So when you're talking about portions and when it comes to I'm not a nutritionist, so I can declare that, but I've actually gone and worked with a nutritionist for my own weight. What they usually advocate, your carbohydrate should not be bigger than your fist. So anything more than that is very into too much. Yeah.
So things like having second plate, third plate, extra takeaway, pudding, 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 and the leftover for the next day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, let's keep it real, okay?
Let's keep it real. So, say for example, I decide to eat swallow today. Yeah, I can decide that, okay, I'm going to have pounded yam because I feel like eating pounded yam. But okay, what am I going to eat the pounded yam with? Okay, okra or spinach. But make sure the portion of your okra or spinach is more than your swallow. Yeah. They actually have a divide that they do on your plate on how much protein, how much carb, and how much vegetables. If you actually go and meet a nutritionist. But your carb should be nothing more than your fist. So if I now decide I'm eating the carb in the afternoon, then I probably tell myself in the evening that, you know what, okay, you had carb this morning, this afternoon. Okay, I'm not going to have carbs. So let me go along the route of having vegetables, or maybe I can have salad with just chicken, white meats preferably, or pork, depending on what is your protein. Yeah, some people are doing plant-based. I'm not in the realm of plant-based. I don't, food that they say is a name of a name that is another name. They call something meat, and then they'll tell you that it's something meat is meat. Yeah. So whether it's plant-based or not, if you're using the same word with a plant-based thing, it's not the same. So that's how you kind of monitor. And you also will know how much food is enough for you. We all know when we get to that stage of gluttony. We know, because some of us will ask for forgiveness.
Dr. Tony, there are two things I heard about food, that when you feel 80% full, that's when you need to stop.
Exactly. Exactly. Your tummy doesn't have to bulge and you have to undo your button to know that you're full.
And what's your take? Okay, yeah, Charity, go for it.
Yeah, sorry, I'll take my hand down. I put my hand up, I think. Did I? No, apparently I forgot. I was going to say, I think with food, because I had a problem also at one time with NI2. I think I went for a year with a mentor until I eventually did a nutrition course, and I'm a nutrition counselor as well. So with food, again, the other thing, we sometimes when you want to avoid having large portions, sometimes when we feel hungry, when we feel like we want to eat, we are not actually hungry.
Exactly. It's
Most
dehydration.
of the time, we are actually dehydrated.
Dehydrated, yeah.
Yes. So it's very important that you have water. Like right now, I'm talking to you. I think now I'm on my third 500 ml bottle of water since morning. Wherever I am, I've got my bottle of water with me. But sometimes I'm sitting there doing something and I feel like having something to eat. I just take a sip of water. That feeling of hunger just disappears.
Yeah.
And
that's
again,
very true.
Having small portions, because you were talking of, somebody asked about portion control. How do you control your portions? It's the frequency of having meals and snacks that counts. Like if you are going to have something small quantities every 4 hours at least during the day, so that you will not constantly craving, especially craving for carbohydrates. Because if you have too many carbohydrates, the sugar in carbohydrates gets metabolized so quickly, and it quickly vanishes in the body, and then you're craving for more again. So and then it doesn't really vanish; it just gets stored up as fats, adipose tissue in some parts of your body where you don't want it to go. So, small frequent meals in between and lots of water, that helps to cut down the quantity of portion size.
Exactly.
Thank you, Charity. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So always remember, when you feel you're hungry, drink water first, because it might just be dehydration and not hunger. Okay. So your fluid and beverage intake, they recommend 2 liters a day, but it depends also on how active you are in your business. If you're a laborer or you're somebody who runs a construction business and you're on site and you're doing all the work, you probably will need a bit more water because you'll be losing water from sweating. But averagely, we recommend 2 liters a day. 2 liters of water. And people say, God, how am I going to do that? Because that's also a challenge. So what I tend to advocate is that if you're going to have 2 liters a day, that's like Charity said, 500 mils bottles. So you need 4. So you might decide, I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night going to the toilet. So you need to be intentional that you drink your water earlier in the day. Don't wait till 10 p.m. and think, oh my God, I haven't had I'm supposed to drink 1 more liter. And then go guzzle, 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 guzzle to drink the water. You will definitely wake up in the middle of the night and that will interrupt your sleep. Yeah. So on the question of alcohol, because some people would say that, well, I use alcohol to go to sleep. I'm not sure if that's something that people have heard people talk about. It's okay to drink alcohol. Yeah, alcohol in moderation is said to be healthy, but everyone has a limit to prevent damage. You might have a friend who can drink a bottle of wine and still stands and no problem. You might go and drink that same 1 bottle and you're legless, you're all over the place, and life is not as it should be for you. So one has to be mindful, like I said in everything, you need to know who you are and what is enough for you. Because what you want to avoid is the risk of alcohol misuse and abuse or dependence. Yeah. So it could cause mental health issue, anxiety and depression. So because you're stressed and depressed or upset or because of your business, you now think, oh, if I go and drink a bit of alcohol, it will actually calm me down. Alcohol is like in and out. You take it, you feel good for a few hours, but then the crash is worse. So be mindful about using alcohol as a way to kind of help you manage your stress or anxiety. It will affect your well-being, like I said, self-neglect, poor diet, isolation, social risk, breakdown of relationship. So while you're trying to pile the alcohol to try and think you can use it to manage the situation you're going through, it has impact on everybody else. And of course, it's going to impact on your physical health, high blood pressure, like we said, diabetes, low immunity, liver disease, and ultimately death. Like some people say, we were going to die anyway, but you don't need to you don't have to quicken the pace. So one has to be mindful about using alcohol as a supplement to getting support, talking to a therapist, talking to your GP. Some might end up being on medication for a short while. Some might be on a medication long-term. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But just don't think that alcohol will solve that problem. And I think that is something that is very, very key, because in our community, sometimes people think that they're not alcoholics or alcohol dependent because they're not legless and falling in the gutter. People who drink know how to manage themselves. So don't default to drinking alcohol to solve any stress or anxiety as you're running your business. So that's one important thing I'll share.
Sorry, Dr. Tony again. So what about if someone is already drinking alcohol and they try to stop or reduce it and they've not been able, as I heard, is an addiction. So do you have any recommendation, like you give us the breathing technique? I know you talked about GP.
For that, in the UK, if you think you've got an alcohol problem and you want to reduce or abstain or withdraw, it's a self-referral. Because the way it works is that you are the one that has made that decision. You're intentional about what changes you want, and they will expect you to engage with the service. So it's usually a self-referral. You cannot refer on behalf of somebody, because you don't know what the desire of the individual who actually has an alcohol problem. So they expect them to self-refer to the GP. They can go to the GP and say, I need this help. And the GP will send them to the appropriate addiction services in your locality.
So that's for people listening that are from the UK, right?
Yeah, that's for the UK.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say Ed as well. If sorry to take you back a little bit about the talking about the referral for somebody who's got alcohol problems and they want to stop. It's the same thing as a diet as well.
Yeah,
Because when you are trying to control your diet and your weight, it's not for you to be referred. You can be referred to as many people as you want, to all the specialists and spend lots of money, but it has to come from you. When
you
you say, now I've made a decision, I think I'm unhealthy, I need to do something about it, then when you actively seek help yourself, it will be effective.
exactly.
Because I've seen people who say we are going to join somebody, a friend will tell you to come along to a loss of weight club or something. But if it's not coming from you, it's not going to work. You have to
Exactly.
actively seek the help.
Exactly.
Okay,
And
can I just add?
that's why they focus on self-referral. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you to Rebecca. Rebecca has actually generously provided the link to the charity in the UK. So if you're not on the call today, it's called Charity Change Grow Life for Alcohol and Drugs. So thank you for that. Rebecca said I used to work for them many, many years ago. Thank you so much for
Wow,
that.
oh, that's good.
So can I just say this is part of the reason why we're here. We're here because we want to enlighten ourselves. We have experts that, that can actually help. So for example, Rebecca is kindly offered that link there. So if you're in the UK, if you're listening to this recording, this is really part of what the British African Business Network is about, to empower us in the, in the community to make sure that we are knowledgeable about where to get help from. So, which is part of what Dr. Tony is doing today. So, thank you so much for all the contributions so far. Thank you, Dr. Tony, and thank you, Rebecca, as well.
Thank you.
Thank
So,
you.
like we mentioned about the alcohol, of course, avoid recreational drugs, especially if you're starting your business, because starting a business is where the highest possibility or chances of being stressed and very anxious. So if you now start using recreational drug to manage that, like I said, it could lead to addiction. It can lead to the loss of your business that you're trying to grow, and also can lead you to engage with negative relationships, people that you probably might not think you have engaged with if you had actually maintained or got help in a professional way to help you through managing that stress and anxiety as you start to grow your business. So we said, okay, you can do all this. I'm running my business and life happens. Yeah. And it will always happen. We can't avoid it. As long as you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, life will always happen. Obstacles will happen, no matter how much plans you make. So we need what we call resilience. Yeah. And resilience is your ability to adapt and cope with difficult life circumstances in your business. Also applies to your life, but we're focusing on businesses while maintaining a psychological well-being. Very, very important. And remember, I asked that question, do you know who you are? Because that is part of what has to help you to start to work and build on your resilience. Do you know what you want? Or are you doing things, or you're running a business because somebody else is running the business and you think you can do it better than them, or you think you can do it? The question is, what is emotion? Because a lot of people mix what is emotion, what is resilience. And the other question you need to ask yourself, are you emotionally strong? Because running a business is not for the faint-hearted. You need to be emotionally strong to actually be able to achieve that. So let us look at what is emotion. Emotion is a conscious reaction subjectively experienced as a strong feeling, usually directly towards a specific object, accompanied by the physiological or biological changes or behavioral changes in the body. So you feel something, it brings something out in you. And of course, like we said earlier, irritability, anger, those are the kind of things that actually happens around emotions. But the question you need to ask yourself as an entrepreneur, do you get upset easily? Because if you're someone who gets upset easily, you need to have to start to work on how you're going to control that. Are you able to control your anger? Because I always say, it's not everything that people do to you that you respond to straight away. So there are techniques you can actually learn around that. Are you able to look at positive aspect of a situation? So that if anything actually happens that is an obstacle, that is negative, how do you process that? Do you focus on the negative aspect of that thing? Or do you pivot to see, okay, what positive thing can I get out of this? And that is very crucial to help us build our resilience. Our mindset is also very important. So we all know that our mindset is a collection of thoughts and beliefs that shapes our habit. So your thoughts, habits affects what you think, how you feel, and what you do. So you see how your emotions and your mindset actually works hand in hand in order for you to build a resilience to actually be successful in your business. We need to be able to achieve a bounce back ability. Your emotional intelligence is important. But of course, this doesn't happen overnight. It develops over time. And you have to look, like we said earlier on, about when we wake up in the morning, how do you get yourself motivated? We talked about affirmation, self-belief, believing in what you're actually doing. Do you actually believe in your business? Is it something that you really do believe that can work? Are you giving of yourself to others? Positive attitude, that is when things go wrong, are you able to look at the positive aspect? Managing stress and being able to let go is part of your emotional intelligence. Asking for support. I always say to people, no matter how great you are, you can always learn from other people. And spending your time focusing on the solution and not the problem. And this will help you build your resilience as you grow your business. So what steps do you need to develop your emotional resilience in your business? Of course, we need to learn to say no. I'm sure a lot of us are thinking, really? Yes, a lot of us are not confident in saying no to certain things, even though when we know it might affect us individually, our well-being, or actually the business. Being able to say no is a process that people need to go through. No doesn't mean you don't like them. No means not at this point in time. So don't look at the negative connotation of the word no. Very important. Practice acceptance. If things happen, it's happened. You have no control over it, but what's the next step forward? Support and connection. Your work-life balance. Do you have children? Are there things that you need to do at home? So you need to leave your business at that point in time and engage with things at home, or actually delegate things for people to do, even if you're not going to be able to do that. You also need to develop your own individual self-awareness, because there might be things that you're doing which to you seems normal and it's okay, but maybe the people that you're working with, or maybe with another clients you're working with, or another business you're working with, they might see that. And when they see that, are you able to be vulnerable? Are you able for them to say what they see without you taking it personal? Because you're going to get a lot of that when you're running a business. Yeah? Allow others and yourself to be imperfect. And above all, self-care to relieve stress, like we mentioned, time to rest, time to relax, exercises, engaging in other things outside of your business. And that actually gives you the balance and helps you to be more resilient. So when you're nicely energized, you're relaxed, things are going fine, and something happens, you are in a better frame of mind to actually deal with that issue and actually move on. So the last aspect we're going to go to is just exercise, and I'm just going to rush through that because I'm sure we're running out of time. Exercise is key to healthy mental and physical health. And like food and like sleep, exercise also helps you to prevent the listed conditions as stated below. And most, especially people will be thinking dementia, yes. Cancer, we all know that stress is a trigger for cancer. So if anything at all from this page that you're not interested in, the C word and the D word, a lot of people panic. So sometimes you need to come up straight to let them know that if you don't do this and this, this is the risk that you run. Yeah. So what kind of exercise can you do? The power of exercise. This was done by the Chief Medical Officer in the UK. The benefit of regular physical activity on health, longevity, and well-being easily surpasses the effectiveness of any drugs or other medical treatment. That is powerful. That is powerful because if you can put those things in place, the risk of actually having other conditions that may warrant medication will not be there. Although we also need to acknowledge there are things that are genetic and there's nothing you can do about that. So looking at your family history, what is common in the family, what is genetic, and how can you extend the time that you get that condition if it's that hereditary? Or what can you do to avoid being in that situation, even if it's genetically done?
Sorry, Dr. Toyi, you talked about exercise there.
Yeah.
Now, you also help us emphasize the fact that many of these things are free, going to the local park.
Exactly, going to the park, going to the gym.
You don't have to pay for it. Most good things are free.
Yeah. And also what is also important, you hear people saying, oh, I can't go to the gym, I can't leave the house. There are exercises you can do sitting down.
At home.
At home.
Yes.
There are lots of exercise programs on YouTube because half of us live on YouTube, but we never use it for the most productive things for us. There are lots of videos you can use to do exercise. You have things like Pilates, you have things like yoga. So there's so many things that you can do without actually paying.
NHS, NHS actually
NHS also has they now have what they call it, social prescribing. It's something that we have in the UK. So your GP can actually refer you to the gym. So we've got all that in that. And wherever you're watching this from, find out what is there locally for you as well, because they might be there, but you probably were not aware that they were there. But I'm hoping from this webinar, you go about and research what is there in your community and can be of benefit, not only for you, but people that you know.
I think most of the boroughs in the UK also have subsidized price for their gym membership.
Exactly.
So the ones that are run by the borough, you know, on behalf of the borough, run by some of the health care facilities, and they're subsidized for everyone.
Exactly. And they also have, I think, quite locally in various areas now, I think they have kind of like Wellbeing Center.
That's right.
I've come across a few of them when you go driving around London. You have places where they say, oh, this is a Wellbeing Center. So watch out and look out for what there is in your locality that can help you. You don't need to spend so much money to be healthy. Charity
has put it here that YouTube has lots of free program or local clubs paid by the National Lottery. Exactly. I know that one of the biggest things that happened in the UK is about this funding from the National Lottery.
National Lottery, yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. So there's a lot out there. Even if you're in a country where you think, oh, the healthcare system is not really good, you can go for walks. I remember during COVID when they said you couldn't go out, you can walk around your dining table, 15 laps. You know, you can be creative about your exercise. So being physically in the gym does not necessarily mean that you can't do anything. So what they always say, advocate for us, generally, not only as an entrepreneur, is try to be active daily. Yeah, try to be active daily. Even if it's 30 minutes a day, you can go for a walk. And I always say nature walking is so good, especially if you're in a place where there's a park or there are trees and things. You know, the air is good. Air is good for the oxygen, you know. So let's try and do various exercises to the best of our strength and don't overdo it. Because I always say for some of us who are probably perimenopausal, menopausal, over 50, 60, you can't carry weights. If you've never done it before in your whole life, you know, a lot of some of these exercises are gradually built to achieve what you need, but just walking for an hour is probably what some people just need. So don't not do exercise because you cannot go to the gym. You can do exercises at home on your chair. Even if you're physically disabled, there are exercises that they can actually recommend for you to use as well. Okay. So I hope you've learned a lot today. And
Wow.
I hope, I know it's a lot, and you can just take it in portions, but my takeaway for everyone today, when you're looking at your well-being, your mental health, it's your diet, which is nutrition, exercise, we've seen the benefit of what that can do, avoid harmful substances, build positive relationship, adequate sleep is needed. And when you're able to put your goals for these various aspects of your lifestyle, then the productivity in your business will grow.
Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Charity said, we've gained a lot, many, many thanks, and I echo that as well. I know that definitely people will be watching this back and they'll be able to make those references. Thank you to people that have actually shared. Rebecca, the link, I've just gone onto that link. It's well resourced. So thank you for that recommendation. But Dr. Tony, what can we say? I know that we don't take you for granted, and I know that yes, it's from your heart what you are saying, because we know that prevention is better than cure. So the reason why we're here today is to empower ourselves to make sure that yes, we know about these things, but the question is that do we do them? And if we're not, why not? And it's to know that health is wealth. If you don't do those things, we don't want to be, have the wealth and now be using not have the health using the wealth to now take care of the health. So we don't want that to be the case. So we want to make sure that we prevent at all costs. So thank you for giving us insight into what we can do. I hope everyone in the, in the BABN will be able to look back at this and say thank you. And there are referral, points there that you've mentioned as well, where we can get support from. If you're based in the UK, many of these things are free. You just need to devote, a phone call to the GP and they'll, refer you to those things. So thank you so much for that. I don't know if we have more questions for Dr. I know it's been interactive. I know some of us have asked the question. Thank you to EB. Thank you to Rebecca again, and thank you to Charity as well. So, and also myself, I just want to say thank you so much. So do we have any question, anything else we want to? So thanks to Charity has given a website as well on YouTube for exercise. So thank you for that. So any question for Dr. Toyi?
Can I just
I don't
also
have a
just
question.
Okay,
Okay.
now we
Just
got
just a contribution.
Well done. Thank you for, yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, just to say, thank you so much for putting this together, Dr. Is it Dr. Toyin?
Yeah.
I mean, definitely. I mean, and thanks to the other people who've contributed, Charity and all the others. I mean, I've actually learned quite a lot. And I mean, health is ever so important. And I think mental health is always overlooked. And yet it has the same kind of weight as physical health, because without either mental health or physical health, we have no business. You have no businesses at all. And thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I was also going to do a shout out, because I think a lot of the entrepreneurs, especially the ones in their 20s, may benefit from this. I always say, don't wait till you need it. Get the knowledge now so you can start to prep yourself as you embark on your entrepreneurial and your business. It's so, so important. You're never too young to learn about your well-being and the importance of your mental health. Thank you.
I know you have you mentioned finance, briefly, and actually I help give financial protection to people, but actually more of the prevention. That if we can do the prevention bit, yes, it's good to have the financial protection in place in case we cannot work, we cannot, look after ourselves. But also it's always good to actually do this weekly exercise, okay? Drinking water, 2 liters of water, a must. So that's, some of us need to start from somewhere,
Exactly.
So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. So
thank you
do we
so
have
much.
any other question or any contribution from anyone, before we close the session?
All I can say is thank you very much, my dear friend Dr. Toyin, and everyone else, and whoever organized in our club society organized this. I do appreciate you. Unfortunately, I came late because I was on another business. I was on another meeting, so I just quickly jumped in, and I'm glad I did because I gained quite a lot as well. I got a few reminders, which is what we all need. Because sometimes we may think we know things, but knowing them and not acting on them is two different things.
Absolutely, absolutely. Sometimes we need the reminders as well. So it's not what we know.
Exactly.
It's action, like Dr. Sonia has been saying all along, is the action. We need to take action. You might know it and use it, so it's of no use if you have it, but you're not using it. So if you use it, then it's going to pay dividends. So hopefully we've all been refreshed. We've all been given those tickets again. And thanks to British African Business Network. Unfortunately, we have Ifuru here, but because of personal circumstances, she's not been able to be live and contribute, but we appreciate you as well for all the work that you're doing in the community. You've been a pillar, and we thank you for, selfless efforts and all the other teams as well, not just yourself. But it's just good to echo, to acknowledge people that have actually made things like this to be available to us. I know it's free to us to listen to this, but I'm sure Dr. Tony has shared thousands of how many hours of research you've done and putting this together. It takes a lot of time and effort, and we don't take those things for granted. Yes, we could go on YouTube and be searching for those things, but to compile them and to make them coherent and to share experiences, it takes time. And we appreciate your love for the community as well, wanting to empower us. So thank you so much on behalf of everyone here. So I've been your host today. Okay, so this is my first one here, actually. So Odetola is my name. I hope when you look back, I've done some decent job. All right, so thank you so much, everyone, for coming in today. Thank you again to Dr. Toyin. Thank you, Esther Wengwe, Charity, and definitely thank you to Joshua. How can I forget Joshua? Joshua,
thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for all the work that you do on the background. You are the pillar here as well. So thank you so much for all those publicity, the marketing, and everything that you do. We appreciate you, and thank you, everyone. Okay, so I see you all, and hope to catch up on the next month as well. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
and
Dr.
happy
Tony.
Black
Bye.
History Month at it. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Joshua,
Bye.
for the constant reminders.
Yeah, the content was so good.
Thank you, Joshua.
Thank you enough.
Thank you, Joshua.
And thank you.
you.
I have also been following a few posts on LinkedIn, and you are really spreading our message far and wide.
Thank you. Honestly, Joshua, thank you so much for what you do. Thank you so much. We are very grateful.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, take care now. Take care.
Bye-bye. Good night. Bye-bye. Bye.